If it's your kid asking, it's annoying. If it's a billion people across the globe, it's a challenge and responsibility. Farmers feeding the world. It's about agriculture coming together to increase both hunger solutions and food production. Please learn more and give generously.
Congressman-elect Kevin Cramer, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about your path here and why you want to represent the North Dakota seat?
Well, North Dakota is, it's my motto about North Dakota is it's good to be us. We're living at a time in our state that's quite historic. I was the economic development director in the late 90s when Governor Ed Schaefer was governor and I was on his cabinet. And we had a gross state product of $13 billion. Today, under my portfolio at the Public Service Commission, I have about a $20 billion investment portfolio where I have an oversight of the environmental and economic regulation because of energy development. But North Dakota is first and foremost an agricultural state. And so while we've been enjoying this incredible energy boom, second leading producer of oil in the country, we still lead the country in about 9 commodities and crops. And we've had this incredible run of good prices, good weather, although drought nearly caught us this year, and it did catch some of the areas of North Dakota, but by and large we were a bit of an oasis in the larger regional drought. Great prices. We've had this incredible economy that is the envy of the country. And I believe that this country, and certainly this institution and the federal government, has never needed more what North Dakota has to offer than right now. And what North Dakota has to offer is common sense, regulation regime that works, experience and knowledge that is badly needed in this city. So I look forward to bringing what I can to it.
Great. So what are some of the main topics or main reasons that your constituents sent you here, other than that overall fact?
I think that there are a couple of things. First of all, I'm an elected official. I've been elected twice to the Public Service Commission. They know me. They know me well. They know that I'll say what I mean and I'll mean what I say, and I'm transparent. I think they trust me, and they've seen my work over the last several years in public life, and either they agree with it, or at the very least, they trust me with this seat that is their seat. And so, I think that's the general reason. I think at a more specific level, they know that I'm a budget watcher, that I am someone who understands the economy, how the economy works, how freedom works, and that when we apply free market principles to not only to running a government, but rather to running an economy, that it can actually be good for everybody. And we've done that in North Dakota. We know how to stay within our means. I've cut budgets. I've helped grow the economy, not by so much my action, but knowing when not to act, even as a regulator, to understand that free people making things that other free people want and are willing to pay for, whether it's food or electricity or oil or gas, that it works. It can work in manufacturing and the service sectors as well. So, yeah, I think people know me well, and they know my philosophy. I articulate it quite clearly with very little ambiguity, and people appreciate that.
As you mentioned, you're no stranger to agriculture, being from North Dakota,
Sure.
And with this farm bill stalled for now,
Yes.
what are your expectations for completing it next year?
Well, it's first of all, the situation we are in, I find very frustrating. I think it is a demonstration of the dysfunction of this place in many respects. I have great respect for and applaud the work of Chairman Lucas and frankly Ranking Member Peterson, who we're very familiar with in North Dakota because he's our neighbor on the Minnesota side. I think they struck a very good deal in the House bill that came out of the House Agriculture Committee. Obviously, it had overwhelming support, bipartisan support. It's a very conservative bill, and I think, and I'm a very conservative person. I think for some of my conservative friends in Congress and perhaps in leadership don't have an adequate appreciation of how difficult that is to strike. And I wish that they'd have brought it to the floor before the election, quite honestly. I certainly wish they'd bring it to the floor during the lame duck. I don't know what kind of a deal they're going to strike. I've been assured by the Speaker and others that farmers, before the end of this year, will be, in fact, operating under a farm bill, whether it's an extension of the existing one or some new one. That's encouraging, but I think the 5-year bill that was struck by the House Ag Committee earlier this year is as good a deal as conservatives are going to get, and I frankly wish that they'd pass it.
Overall, what are you sort of expecting to be waiting for you when you start budget-wise and tax reform-wise?
Well,
it's a hard question.
It's a daunting question. It's what turns enthusiasm and excitement into somewhat, some despair, if you will. I expect a very, very heavy lift. The lack of yielding on all sides of this budget issue is somewhat understandable. We have a divided country. A lot of people like to blame a divided government on divided politicians, but the reality is that in the representative republic, we have a divided country. Having said that, the country has sent us here expecting us to work together and to come up with something that does a couple of things. One, that deals with our incredible deficit and debt issues. I put every issue in my mind in the context of a $16 trillion debt. Every issue, including agriculture, including energy policy, including welfare policy and everything else, and defense policy. So there's that on the one hand. On the other hand, there's this very fragile economy. I come from North Dakota, where we have 2.7% unemployment rate. We have more jobs unfilled than we have people to fill them. And we have the fastest growing personal per capita income in the country. We didn't do that by raising taxes. We didn't do that by raising spending. We do that by keeping regulations low and taxes low and unleashing the free enterprise system that works so well. We need to do that on the national level. So I see a fragile economy on the one hand, I see a huge debt and budget deficits on the other hand, and whatever compromise we come up with has to recognize that both of those things have to be dealt with. We cannot solve one to the detriment of the other, because it won't solve anything.
And finally, are there some things about your background or something in particular that you'd like people to know that might not be common knowledge?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. I think the most important thing to me, and I like to say it, is that my call to public service is an extension of my call to faith. That as a follower of Jesus Christ, I believe that it presents opportunities not to be right all the time. I think sometimes people of faith make that mistake. But rather to be a person of relationships, that is a joyful conservative, not an ogre, and somebody that enjoys people. And so yeah, I hope people, if they don't know that about me, I hope they come to learn that about me, that I love people, and that I don't have any enemies. While I might have political opponents, I have no enemies, and I certainly don't see anybody as my enemy, and I hope that they don't see me as an enemy as well.
Congressman-elect Kevin Cramer from North Dakota, thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.